Hey, good evening, everybody. This is the November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Development and Governmental Relations Subcommittee, affectionately known as DGR, to the Holyoke City Council. I'm the chairman. With me is Councilor Sullivan. With me also is Councilor Murphy. Councilor Tallman is en route. I have somebody trying to call me. That's not another council vacancy, so we'll put that away. So Councilor Valentin is the other member of the committee, but I haven't heard councilor status. The first item on our agenda, which seems lengthy, but we're going to bridge a few of these tonight, so that's a good thing. We're just getting back to the swing of things, so you can't expect us to go full steam ahead. No, none of you could expect that. So prior meeting minutes, so I get a motion to take that off the table, please.
Make a motion we take off the table?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, take previous meeting minutes off the table. Motion's made and seconded. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Other than getting them a little bit delayed, I'm okay, but I did confer with Councilor Murphy before the meeting, and I believe Councilor Murphy has an amendment.
Yes, it would be on page 5, under item 4, on an order that I filed regarding the HUD Section 108 funds, and a meeting with the Office of Community Development, the Office of Planning, and the Housing Authority. And it's my understanding that none of them were able to make the meeting, so we did table it on the minutes. It says it was complied with, but it really hasn't been complied with. So if we can change that to have been tabled and have that at one of our future meetings, that would be much appreciated. So I'll make a motion, we amend it to...
I'm going to second that motion. So under discussion, page 5.
Page 5.
5, okay, thank you. I just numbered them there.
Yeah, and it's item 4.
It's agenda item 4. So the amendment is to say that the motion, that the matter is tabled.
Correct.
Okay. On that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's corrected.
And I'll make a motion, we pass the minutes as amended.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes as amended. On discussion, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. And thank you, Ryan, for the minutes. Maybe more than a 2-hour heads up would be good, but now still a good job. One of his best efforts, I think. So we can go to agenda item number 2. Make a motion. I would take a motion to take it off the table and to open up a public hearing on this.
So moved.
Second.
On said motion, all in favor?
Aye.
So before us is a special permit application for Mr. Ismael Ramos to establish an auto repair and an auto sales business at 64 Clemente Street, right here in world-famous Holyoke, Mass. And by good fortune, we have Mr. Ramos right here. Mr. Ramos, I'm going to have you come up to the microphone. I'm going to have you turn that microphone on, because you already got practice. Yeah, we practice. See, smooth as silk when the cameras are on. So, Mr. Ramos, well, who do you have? Do you have somebody with you? Is a team here just in support, or do you need to? Okay, are you going to want to speak as well?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. So Mr. Ramos, we have a couple of things, don't we? Why don't we want to do? There it is. What's the name of our business? Illusion Auto Sales.
Yeah.
That's true?
Yeah.
All right. And it seems like it was an existing business, true? So auto sales and repair?
Yeah.
And so now, so what happened? So you're starting up a new business and all that? So why don't you tell us a little bit about the two businesses that you want to operate? So one for auto sales and one for auto repair, and tell us a little bit about you or however you want to do this, and we'll take it from. Oh, and with us is Councilor Peter Tallman. And we have 4 for 4, all duly elected here. How about that? Exciting, huh? So, Mr. Ramos, take it away.
I'll try. I would do a business con a lot of people selling car before, but that's the first time doing only for me. Porque I'm tired de do it con other people. Now I want to try do it only me do it. I want to do it, try I want to make it. I want to do it. Staying time, working con people. Y I know que I can do it. See, you give me the chance, I can do it, But I'll try to sell it, not too many cars. I'll try to, start slow. See, the business coming good, different, but I want to try slow.
So let's do it this way. Well, first of all, and we want to help you. I know to a person here that we all want to help you. So we're very, very excited that you're looking to go out on your own, and congratulations. And we'll be as helpful as we humanly can be. So let's just do the auto sales first, that you talked about that. So what is it that you envision happening with the auto sales? You want to have, what do you want, new cars, used cars?
Used car.
Used cars.
Yeah.
And how many cars are going to be generally for sale?
Right now, I want to start like 3 or 4 or 2.
Okay, so 2 to 4, that sounds good, because as you know, now, did you receive a letter from Mr. Burkott of the planning board? It would have been a letter dated, October 28th. Let's see if the letter has you copied on it. It does not. I would have. Did you get a letter from the planning board?
No.
Wouldn't it make sense for you to get a letter from the planning board, since this is you? The planning board, what they like to do is generally a planning board, they like to issue opinions and give us their opinions on how we should run, like city ordinances and all that. My answer to them is pull papers, put your name in the ballot, and run for office to a person they haven't done it yet. Can you imagine? But they like to come down here and give us written opinions on how city government should be run. My opinion for them is, when you write a letter like this, you should at least copy who? You should at least copy the applicant. That'd be nice. Furthermore, since we have such a heavy Spanish-speaking population, we should consider, this is not rocket science, is it? We could consider putting that in Spanish, especially for the Spanish-speaking population. Wouldn't you think that would be normal? Yeah, it would be beautiful, right? But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'm having fun with them. Believe me, I have fun with them. Thank you. And when I'm the chairman, I can do what I want, right? Within reason. So, Mr. Ramos, we have a letter which, you have an email, Mr. Ramos? Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is, I don't want you to give me your email now. I'm going to ask you to, yeah, let me see if I have a notepad. I'm going to email this to you, but I'm going to have you, wouldn't you think a lawyer would have a notepad? I got it, okay. Yeah. I know Mr. Driscoll would have a notepad, because he's a great lawyer. I'm just a ham and egger.
Tengo el email aquí también apuntado. Yo tengo también.
Wait a minute, I'm going to have fun with the planning board for a while. If you just jot down your email, that'd be great. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so we'll do that. So on this letter, Mr. Ramos, in English, I'm going to say very few English majors can even understand it, but on this letter, it references many standards from city law that you have to adhere to. I'm going to suggest that you adhere to them, but you need to know what these standards are.
Okay.
I mean, you've got to know, so you can't be, these are vital. So you're zoned properly, but you've got to have some clue about how bulk waste should be. I mean, you have a rolling bin back there. I mean, it really should be screened off. There should be other things about buffering so that noise and lights do not negatively impact your abutters. I mean, I'm going to suggest that most of these things are in place, but I can't possibly have you be ignorant to these laws.
Okay.
I mean, they're just vital to quality of life for you and, of course, for your neighbors. I mean, you wouldn't like it if somebody moved in next to you and where you live and did all sorts of things, right? So, I mean, it's only fair. That's how that works. So you've got to get these letters. So I will do it, or Mr. Allen, our administrative assistant, will probably Mr. Allen will email these to you. So I'll give this email to Mr. Allen, and he will get these letters to you certainly by tomorrow afternoon. Okay. All right. So let me just make sure I can read it. Huh, okay. Okay. That's a 9.
That's a Q.
Q.
It's all right. So the first 2 letters are YQ, true? YQ. All right, got it. Okay, thank you. Well, the whole committee was sent the same letter, so we've all had a chance to review it, but certainly we don't have it memorized. But the nice thing is, the key is you're zoned properly. That's that's a major issue. The building itself was a former motor vehicle repair and sale, so that's good. There's always issues about parking for employees and for customers. I'm going to suggest to you with if you're only selling 2 to 4 cars, you're going to have ample parking on site. Did any committee members visit the site? Because I didn't. Okay, we'll hear from Council Murphy on that. And is this Ward 2?
Ward 1, in my younger days.
It was Ward 2, Neil, yeah.
But now it's Ward 1.
So it's on this side of Cabot Street then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Listen to Council Murphy in his younger days, I'll tell you. Very.
I'm still young.
He is still young, a lot of energy. Files way too many orders, but that's okay. You do. All right, okay, and so in here, so this would be a special permit, and so it says in here, so you'd have to file, if we should pass this, a year from now, you'd have to file for a license, an annual license with the city's license board. So the good news is you don't have to come back to us, but you'll have to apply to the license board. Jane, is this Jane Select? Okay, Jane Champagne. You're not going to get a more conscientious city employee. So I can't be nice to other employees. I can be. She is a very conscientious, hardworking employee, and we're lucky to have her. So she's the department head for the license commission. And her, I'm not sure where her office is anymore, but anyhow. So okay. Mr. Ramos, one last question for me, then I will open up to the committee, and then we'll open up to the public. Mr. Ramos, your experience, why don't you just walk me through your experience? Where did you, a little bit about your background in either auto sales or auto repair? If any. If you don't, I mean, it's okay.
I know a little bit the mechanic. I know a little bit try the selling car, but I'll try the problem que I got cuando I try to sell a car, que I don't like por eso I live in before selling the car the only for the deal before, porque I don't like to lie the people. I don't like it to say that's good when I got something wrong. I want to tell the truth of the person, but so I want to try to sell one car. I know you gotta get good car, I don't want to try something not working good. I know a little bit mechanic, not too much, but I know a little bit. I tried it, see I go to sell something, get good.
Okay. Council Murphy?
Yeah, I did visit the site and a couple of times, and I walked to the alley and everything. But first of all, I think, as I understand, for sales, you're only going to be allowed to sell 2 cars at any time.
Yeah.
And that's max according to the guidelines. And I think parking, you would need 10 slots. And what I saw, I thought there was probably 12 parking spots. I think I
Yeah,
saw.
porque I do the line before, but I got it painting again.
Oh, okay. But what was there? I mean, I think there were 5 or 6 cars there today, and there were like 4 or 5 more spots. So I thought there were about 12 spots, which would be fine. I saw you have a big entrance bay to the garage, and I also talked to them about, because I do have concerns with the neighbors, because there's 3 houses right there. But Ismael did indicate that he would be operating on 9 to 5, 9 to 6. So in terms of noise, there wouldn't be problems early in the morning or late at night. And they are close enough to neighbors that might have been a concern. But I do have, so I know you're talking about one other employee, right? You're talking about potentially 2 employees. You'd be one of them.
Yeah,
You'd be the boss.
yeah.
And I'm assuming, since you're working on your mechanical skills, that you would try to get someone who's an accomplished mechanic.
Yeah.
Would that be correct? Okay. And again, I just think in terms of the neighborhood, it's been that kind of thing before. There haven't been any major issues with it. There's an apartment building to one side and 3 houses to the other. There's a business on the other side of the alley. So I think it fits in. His enthusiasm, I think, and wanting to find himself a better way to work and make a living and working for himself. I mean, I think all of those are good traits. I know he's got 3 bosses over there, David, and they all told me he'll follow their instructions. But, right? So, I mean, I'm based on what I've seen, and as long as he lives up to the requirements, and again, I would tell you, start your success small, and as you get more accomplished, then we can look to do things in addition to that if possible. But for right now, it is a limited space. I would assume most of your entrance and exit would come from Clemente Street and not from the alley, although I know you said they can come from the alley. I looked at that. Don't think a lot of people are going to want to go through the alley.
No.
So, but I do think there's plenty of space on the street for coming in and out. And it looked to me like there's plenty of parking space, and it would be a straight shoot into the garage.
Okay, the parking, Counselor Murphy, I'm sorry, maximum number of motor vehicles for the sales area, wow, can be derived by taking the total sales area, multiplying it through a factor, and it says the factor comes out to about 17 is a maximum, 17 cars. Applicant has illustrated on the plans the maximum number of sales for one time will be 2, therefore requiring 2 spaces. So, you know, I don't really want to put a limit on it. Well, but it looks, you know, reading this along with your other parking requirements, because you need to have a certain number of parking spots for employees and for customers. So I want you to figure that to be a total of about 4. So that shrinks down the number to 13 spaces available for parking. But you also have to have, how many bays are there, Councilor Murphy?
I think there are
2.
Okay. So you need 2 parking spaces per bay. So that's 4 more parking spaces that are shrunk down. So that leaves you about 9. So the space you can have available for car sales, you're probably going to have, at a maximum, to be comfortable, probably 6 at any one time, maybe 7. And that's according to, for city law. Speaking to the mic. And you have to identify yourself, please.
Right now, we only have 1 base,
1 bay.
so we're gonna get another one later
Okay.
when we starting actually open.
Okay, and
So-
your name?
Mildred Cruz.
Okay, Ms. Cruz. All right. Okay, Ms. Cruz. Counselor Tallman.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, Ismael. And I think we've heard tonight your honesty, and I like that. Not too many people come up here and say, we want to do this, we want to do it right. And you're talking about selling cars, you want to be honest with people and up front. My concern also, as Councilor Murphy, was the area, the neighbors, but it seems like this has run like this before, a garage. I'm familiar with the area, haven't been by really to inspect it, but I'm familiar with that area and the houses and the business next door, across the street, and the apartment building. And as long as the hours and you start off slowly, as long as the hours aren't really like after hours or certain, maybe on weekends you might be open, but where you're not disturbing the neighborhood that much with the noise or whatever, because, car lots can cause some, noise, people coming in and out. And my other concern was, we've had over the years approved car lots where they could sell cars. I mean, you said you want to start off small, and I think that's great to build that up later on, but we've had some where they start with 10 cars and they're sandwiched in and they got 20 cars in there. You go by some of these areas and you can't hardly even not walk around the car to get to the car you're looking at. So, and that's something that we can check on. I mean, on a yearly basis, they check on too. I think it's good to start off small, and having a reliable mechanic to work with you, and learning your skills. I think there's definitely a need for that for somebody like yourself that's going to be honest with people, as far as selling and as working on the vehicles, because we need that today more than ever. So I don't see any problems with it. I know our committee usually sets some conditions, and I'm sure we'll work on that to make the best conditions for your business to start off. But and that we will follow up on that as the months go on.
Okay, thanks.
We're joined by Councilor Bacon, Ward 5 Councilor. Linda, welcome. Well, that's a good segue for conditions, but Mr. Ramos, Ms. Cruz, what days of the week do we see ourselves open?
Monday to Saturday, maybe?
What days?
What day, Monday to Saturday?
Monday to Saturday? Okay, Monday to Saturday. And what hours?
Or, in weekdays, it's 9 to 5, 9 to 5,
Yeah,
9 to
not-
6. Saturday,
Like at 2 o'clock the Saturday or 1 o'clock.
to 9 to 1 or 8 to 1? 9 to
No,
1.
9 to 1.
Okay, well, I mean, we can just make it 9 to 5 for Monday through Saturday. I don't think that's off the wall. As you know, your vehicle's repaired, you can't leave them out, right? So when vehicles are being repaired, at the end of the business day, they have to be put back in the garage. Okay, so that'll be a condition on your permit as well. So, you can't be leaving parts around a lot. I mean, you wouldn't want to look at them, right? You wouldn't, if you were living there, right? So you're gonna garage overnight, all repair vehicles, true?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councilor Murphy?
Would you be okay with an amendment to make it 9 to 6, just on the basis of people picking up their vehicles if they're at work and they're coming out of work?
Why not?
It would give us an extra hour so that
Yeah.
you got to please your customers.
Yeah, that's true. That is
If
true.
you make it 9 to 5 and they're having to get out of work and they miss it, so if we made it 9 to 6 and,
So we'll have a condition for 9 to 6, the hours of operation 9 to 6. Doesn't mean you have to work those hours, you just can't really get much later or much before. That's the only, or at least open to the public. I mean, if you're doing
Yeah.
office work inside the building, I mean, that's something else, but open to the public, kind of 9 to 6. Okay, the rest of it are really, city laws, and there's really no need to make a condition on a city law because it's already a law, so you have to follow it, right? So that's in that letter of September 28th, the two letters that Mr. Allen will send to you at some point by tomorrow. Okay? All right, so I think we are in a public hearing.
Yep.
Is there any member of the public who wants to speak for or against this? Hearing none. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Ramos, Ms. Cruz? Anything else you want to say to us before we take a vote?
She give me the chance. They open the, I will try hard fixing the play. I take a lot of time losing the play. I don't know if you see the play, that play before, como it look now. I don't know if you see before that play.
yeah, it looks pretty cleaned up, right?
Yeah, I clean up. So today I'm cleaning too, inside too, outside. So I like everything clean. I want to give it a good impression so the people can go.
Good, okay, thank you.
If I can make just one other
Councilor Murphy?
comment, and I'm going to give you another assignment. And that is, I mean, we just had the playground right across the street done a year and a half ago. And I know there have been people concerned about their kids being there. So you're gonna be right across the street, so, you know, just make sure the right people are hanging out in that playground and make it be the little kids and not adults that are taking over.
What's the name of the playground, Council Murphy?
Susie, I think.
Susie,
Yeah, I
Susie
think.
Park?
Yeah. It's on, is it on Clemente?
In spring?
Yeah, member from the public speak for it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's there.
Oh, you did you, I didn't see you raise your hand.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
raised
sorry.
my hand secondary.
Well, you're here, yeah, just step up, you say, we know who you are, but state your name and your address, please, Mr. Whitman.
Anthony Whitman, Whitman Properties at 121 Main Street in Holyoke. And, I just watched how he's cleaned this building up and painted the lines and paved the lot and painted the building. And, when you look inside, you can see how it's all organized. And I think this is a good step in taking something that wasn't properly permitted and turning it into a legitimate business. And I think you guys are right on with all your sentiments. It fits in with the neighborhood. And, I think it'll be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Hearing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
Motion made and seconded, closing public hearing under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion closed. Well, I'll propose a motion that we recommend for approval of special permit with the following conditions, that the permit, Mr. Allen, I'm assuming you're getting these, is that the business will be operated Monday through Saturday. Business hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Any vehicles subject to repair will be garaged overnight, so they'll be in the garage by 6 p.m. Daily. Are there any other, any other conditions we want to add?
No, I think that's good.
I mean, the obvious one, as I said, is
They're gonna follow.
compliance with city laws, but there's no point in putting that on here. I mean, you gotta comply with city laws. Okay, that's my motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve, to recommend for the city council approve the special permit with the aforesaid conditions. Under discussion? Hearing none on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's been recommended for approval to the full city council. Full city council meets tomorrow at 7 p.m. Open meeting, so you can come if you want or not come. And we'll take it from there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Best wishes.
You're good.
All right. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you. Motion to take item number 3 off the table and open the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Motion made second to take number 3 off the table, open the public hearing. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
It's a special permit application of People's Bank. My gosh, and there's a space between the S and the B. I can't believe that. People's Bank for a commercial drive-through, ITM, at 825 Hampden Street, right here in the fair city of Holyoke, Mass. I think we did see the aforesaid Attorney Driscoll here, and I think we have some others as well. So if, I believe Mr. Ramos left the microphone on, so if you would just identify yourself, name, address, or organization, and
My
tell us
name
what's
is-
happening.
Excuse me. My name is Christopher Carney. I'm here from R. Levesque Associates. We're at 40 School Street in Westfield. I'm here on behalf of Kevin Moran and People's Bank to apply for the special permit for drive-through ITM. Got a couple plans. Should I come back there to put them up on a board, or where would you like me to present from?
Well, I'd love to have you come right in here. That's great. And then you can, I'll tell you, it might be easier just to take that microphone off the stand, and you can sort of hold it. It might be easier than using these desk microphones. We did open a public hearing. We did, yeah.
So the proposed site is located on the northern side of Hampden Street, northwest of the corner or intersection of Pleasant Street and Hampden Street. The site's currently the home of People's Bank. This proposed ITM would go in a vacant parking area to the west side of the People's Bank on the parcel that's currently inhabited by People's Bank. So as part of this site plan application and special permit application, we submitted a full site plan set that would show demolition, layout, gradings, and stormwater features for the proposed improvements. The stormwater system has been approved by the city engineering department. I think I'll try to highlight the positive aspects of that. The bulk of the existing parcel was impervious area. Through this site design, we were able to reduce the amount of paved area, so that'll generate less stormwater flowing into the city infrastructure. Additionally, there's a catch basin located at this southern side at the drive aisle. That's an existing catch basin. We're proposing to tear the existing catch basin out and replace it with a water quality unit that would help clean.
Just orient me, I can't, that's so small. Where's Hampden Street there? Thank you.
Pleasant Street,
Oh, no, I just got it. Okay, thank you.
So that catch basin would be removed and replaced with a water quality unit that would help remove suspended solids from stormwater before it would enter the city infrastructure. That would reduce the burden on city infrastructure by reducing the amount of maintenance required. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to replace the sidewalk in front of the site. That sidewalk is on city land. It's currently very deteriorated and would be replaced with a concrete sidewalk in conformance with city regulations. I think what we're here really to look at is a special permit for the ITM. I think the requirement is that that ITM would be located at a minimum of 50 feet from adjoining residential structures. So this plan is annotated with a 50-foot dimension from the rear corner to the overhang of the ITM. The ITM would actually be tucked under that overhang, so it would be slightly greater than 50 feet, but it does provide the 50-foot buffer. Additionally, something you guys haven't seen is that since the time of these submittals, this cord's going to keep me from passing these out to all you, but the applicant was able to meet with the abutter to the west side, the current owner of the apartment complex, and they were able to discuss some of the landscaping features that would buffer this ITM from the adjoining apartment building. And they were able to determine that they could salvage and retain some of the hedgerow that's existing along that property line. That would help provide additional buffering. On top of the fence, we're proposing the chain link fence is replaced with a stockade fence to provide buffering, as well as some inkberry plantings along that property line. So the buffer we would be looking at would be first a stockade fence, followed by the existing hedgerow, followed by the inkberry.
How tall is the fence?
The fence existing, I believe, is 6 feet tall and on a concrete foundation.
No, but well, that's good news, but the one you're proposing to install?
Match this existing 6-foot fence.
Matches it, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It would just be a replace of material from chain link to stockade.
Copy. Stockade's nicer, isn't it?
I think it provides additional buffering.
Buffer, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice touch. Go ahead.
I think those are the important points. The positives of this project would be the replacement of the sidewalk and the reduction of stormwater impacts on city infrastructure. So I think those are the positives. It fits within the character of the neighborhood. There's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. And currently, this being part of a bank property, it would be minimal impact or minimal change of use from the existing bank parking lot to an ITM. As part of the submittal package, we, I think, gave out this larger packet of ITM specifications. Goes through some of the acoustics of the ITM. There would be typical to most ATMs. I think the difference between the ITM, after speaking with Kevin, the major difference is that during banking hours, when you pull up to this ITM, you'd be able to directly contact someone working at People's Bank and have a telephone conversation with them through the ATM. So it's essentially an ATM, but during office hours or banking hours, you would be able to contact a teller. Outside of those banking hours, it would function as an ordinary ATM.
So if I'm living next door to that, I can't hear that? I can't hear people talking in there?
the noise you would hear from the ATM would be overshadowed by Hampden Street, certainly. It definitely would conform to all Holyoke noise ordinances. And I think the acoustics showed it about 70 decibels as a working sound value, which is minimal.
And what about the lights? Is it gonna be really bright? Is that
there's-
gonna keep me awake at night?
So if I could switch to this plan here. One light pole proposed. So the one light pole proposed would be inside this bioretention area, a new stormwater feature that's being added to the property. This would be the light pole location, and these would be the lighting values anticipated from that. It's modeled with a pole height of 14 feet, or a mounting height of 14 feet on the pole. And as you can see, there's no light trespass beyond property line. That's even without taking into account the plantings and stockade fence.
Would it light up the sidewalk a little bit?
Looking at
And
these
where's the
values,
new sidewalk going? Is that on Hampton Street?
it would be a replacement of the existing sidewalk along the northern side of Hampton Street. If you look at aerial photos right now, you can even see that a lot of this has been replaced with bituminous to fill in some cracks. It's a significantly degraded
Oh, I
concrete
believe
walk.
you.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. But I think part of the city ordinance requires that we try to limit light pollution onto the street. So we're really not trying to light up the sidewalk with this proposed light pole. That would be more, unfortunately, under the jurisdiction of Holyoke.
Oh, no, that's fortunate.
Yeah,
That's one of our strong suits, is HG&E, so we're fortunate to have them. Believe me. All right, and then, so you're demoing the existing building.
There's no existing building, existing parking lot.
It's a parking lot.
Just the
fully-
parking lot. Oh, so the existing building, what happens to that? Just stays there?
The existing People's Bank is on Parcel to the east.
East,
It's
yeah.
showing right here with the footprint of the building and the overhang for the drive-through
So
aisle.
that's just staying there?
It's not part of this proposed.
Not part of this proposal, right, so at this point, it's just staying there. Well, I'll ask Attorney Driscoll at a certain point what the thinking is on that one. Council Tallman?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this. Actually, years ago, there used to be a house there, and they made a parking lot there. My concern a little bit is coming in from Hampden Street. Can they come in from Pleasant Street where you're going in now to go to the ATM, or just from Hampden Street?
Yeah, so currently the full parcel is owned by People's Bank, so
Right.
they would have, all customers would have the use to enter the site from either of those curb cuts. So the short answer is yes.
Because right now with the other ATM, people are coming out, and I'm just concerned of people coming in Hampden, people coming out. It's almost like they just be touching each other there.
Yep, so part of this proposed site plan, I think it's shown best on the color plan. The existing alley, as you know, all these Holyoke alleys are 16 feet in width generally, and that's true. So we would be entering the site over top of an existing Holyoke alleyway. We're proposing that alleyway is widened from 16 feet to 22 feet. So this is the existing curb line right here, followed by the proposed curb line. That'll allow for two-way traffic. It's a 22-foot width, so that's typical for Holyoke design standards. So that would allow two-way transportation or two-way traffic to flow along that alleyway.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying, say I'm coming in from Hampden Street and someone did the ITM and they're coming out.
Yeah. Here we go.
I'm a little bit concerned about the curve and people coming in and coming out. That's,
Yeah, the city engineer was also concerned about that, so we were able to generate this traffic turning movement analysis. This is based on vehicle specifications and wheelbases. So this shows the largest typical passenger vehicle being something along the lines of a Ford F-150 turning radius, not like a smaller vehicle. It shows a car parked at the ITM and making a right-hand turn. You can see it stays in the travel lane, the 11-foot of width to exit, and then exits. And because there's a parking lane and a bicycle lane, it has enough room to continue its movement and not spill out into any unwanted transportation lanes. Am I answering your question?
yeah, I think so. I'm just looking at the whole area. I'm thinking about the bank building, and I know that's for sale and it could be used by somebody, and then the ATM that's already there, if it's continued to be open, and then, the confusion of people go to this ATM, they go to that one ATM. I know we're just looking at this project, and, everything I see looks pretty good with the cutoff and the fence and as long as the neighbors aren't affected. In the center, is that just like a grassy area?
Yeah, a grassy area. It's a low depression. It'll capture stormwater and then eventually send it to that water quality unit I discussed and then into the Holyoke system. So it's a pretty thorough stormwater system to help treat stormwater.
The tree storm, okay. 'Cause, like you stated, I mean, we just got a Dunkin' Donuts there, and even now with the people coming out of the ITM, ATM, and then people coming out of the, Dunkin' Donuts, and plus the traffic coming up.
Yeah.
It's an area that's a little bit tricky. I'm just concerned about, safety-wise, as long as, people, when I utilize that, people are aware. I don't know if we can do signage or whatever, but they're aware of what they're going into, and how they're getting out,
As far as the entrance into the site,
Yeah, and coming out of the site, like, I normally be, you coming out, you're taking a right, no left,
Yes.
people are gonna know that, that's stated
Should.
at Dunkin' Donuts, but still people sometimes that are unfamiliar with the area, all of a sudden they're not thinking,
Yep.
they just automatically go to another way, and,
I know as part of the Dunkin' Donuts, a left turn only sign was placed opposite the entrance. And I
Right.
believe that landed right about here, which is opposite the entrance to, or exit to the Dunkin' Donuts. I think the applicant would definitely be in favor of adding a right turn only sign across the street if that's
across it.
allowed.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that divider, which is, can your friend in the Ford F-150 drive over this divider?
That divider, that would be a curb divider, so that would be, it's purposely divided from the other parcel.
How
That way
high off the
traffic-
ground is the curb?
I'm not sure. We're proposing a type 2 bituminous berm, so that would be a typical asphalt berm. It's about 1/2 a foot wide and 1/2 a foot tall. So it's not really built for vehicles to cross over it. It's not a mountable curb. The purpose for putting that in.
Yeah, but asphalt, but is it gonna be sloped, or is it gonna be?
Yes, it would be a sloped asphalt curb.
Right, yeah, see what I mean? So your friend in that Ford F-150 can drive right over that, so he'll go into the wrong lot. I'm telling you what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm telling you what's gonna happen. Because it happens on a regular basis for friends in Ford F-150s exiting Queen Street, crossing over Cherry Street, because they want to go southbound, but they don't want to go take a right, go down to the lights and do a U-turn like a normal person, because they're in their Ford F-150, so they go straight over it and cross over that divider like it's not even there. Happens on a daily basis.
Sure.
The motoring public be damned, because I'm in my Ford F-150 and I'm not going to get hurt. Right, so that's just a design flaw. So what I'm going to suggest,
Okay.
just one person,
Yep.
is that you make that either with planting something significant in there, putting the curb, so it's a real curb, so something pretty, like, concrete
Yes.
curb. Furthermore, to discourage my friend in a Ford F-150 from even driving into the former People's Bank lot, you can install removable but substantially sized concrete planters. For example, there are 2 of them now adjacent to Mel's, which Councilor Bartley was able to get installed there 2 years ago, because there were numerous people that would drive down. It's the narrowest alleyway you ever saw in your life, but they would drive right alongside Mel's. And again, everybody else be damned, but me and my car. Okay, so Mr. Smith, our former conservation director, put 2 concrete planters right, and so that's now to stop that dead in its tracks. So no one drives down anymore because they're physically barred from doing that. Is that something that's possible, to put up blockers in the?
Yeah, I don't think the applicant is adverse to any sort of opinions you have on how to make transportation flow more smoothly across the site. I just personally would like a little bit of clarification as to where you're seeing a traffic conflict, or where you think a truck would be inclined to cross this curb.
Well, okay, so here I am at the former ATM.
Yep.
Right there. So I just realized now it's closed. Oh, and then so I look a little bit to the west. I'm in my Ford F-150. Okay, I don't really feel like driving back out to Hampden Street because
Come
there's
back
way
in.
too many cars in the street right now, or there's a big 18-wheeler trying to back up into Eddie's Furniture. So I don't feel like waiting more than 4 seconds for anything in my life because I'm in a Ford F-150. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive. Yeah, I'm not going to pull out into Hampden Street. Is my point. I'm going to drive right over your berm.
Over here.
I'm going to drive right over your berm. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Currently, this is the existing berm, and it would serve the same purpose, and this is designed to match the existing vegetated area and curb here, so this is the same type of curb that's existing right here, and I'm sure we can plant this with any type of plantings that Holyoke would recommend.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make it look horrible. I'm just trying to
I guess that's part of the fun of this. is
drive the
that
point home.
Too many concrete blocks in downtown Holyoke might not be as attractive as some well-placed plantings. I
Yeah,
guess.
well-placed plantings,
Yeah.
and then, but really just, you can nip in the bud just by putting some pretty sizable concrete planters in the driveway, the access and egress parts of the former spot. Right there would be good, right along that median strip, but I mean, over here in the former, because you don't want anybody driving in there. I don't,
No, here, this would be, this is an exit only, so, yeah.
right, but that's now defunct, so there's no reason for anybody to be driving there ever, is there a reason?
Under proposed conditions?
Right.
No.
Yeah, so, right, but now they can. So what Counselor Tallman indicated is that being the nature of this property being here for, how many decades, I don't know. I mean, until the motoring public gets used to this new ITM, they're inevitably gonna drive into the former one. They're gonna realize, oh gee, my ATM's closed, but I'm in my Ford F-150, and I'm gonna drive right over this little berm. So my, just a suggestion, I'm just one vote, but just a suggestion is that if you put something to block that access point as it is with a pretty large concrete planter. I just gave you an example of one next to Mel's in the alleyway that we had put in there 2 years ago, just to prevent it to begin with.
Sure.
But if that doesn't work, you'll still have some pretty sizable plantings in here, and I'm sure nobody would drive right through those and, crush a little baby tree. I'm sure they would never do that, but you should consider something substantial
Sure.
in that area.
I think a vertical curb of any sort could definitely be installed there to help limit someone driving across it. As the plans are proposed, this is still going to be maintained as a bank, so transportation will need to be able to flow out of this building here, so putting in blockers along the Hampden Street frontage, I don't think at this point in time, am I misunderstanding?
No, you're not misunderstanding. So, but I'm misunderstanding you. I thought that was no longer gonna be used as a, is that still gonna be used by People's Bank?
Oh, yeah, this is still going to, this is under.
That's why I was just gonna step in.
Okay.
The bank building and the ATM there is not gonna be used anymore.
So Attorney Driscoll, I gotta have you talk to the microphone, so you can borrow. Sure. Yeah.
Attorney John Driscoll, 330 Whitney Avenue, Holyoke, Mass. The ATM, current ATM, is not going to be used. Once this open, that will not be used. And the site is designed so that they can enter and exit off of Hampden Street, but they can also enter and exit off of Pleasant Street. So if they come through, there's going to be a way for them as they go through the ATM, take a left, go back to the easement that goes out to Pleasant Street. So there really be no reason for them to go back into the existing bank lot. They're going to be directed to go out, and so they can exit out on Pleasant Street or they can exit out on Hampden Street. And you'd have the right, whoever, that branch building is now on the market. If someone were to buy that and try to continue to use the ATM, they'd have to come back into you and get their own approval for use their
What I'm
drive-through.
saying is that in the meantime, until you find a buyer for that corner lot,
It won't be used at all.
Right, but I don't want anybody to be driving in there accidentally thinking that they can perhaps use the ATM. They get there and then, oops, the ATM's no longer used. But wait a
But
minute,
if they
I can-
do,
I
they'll
can-
be facing out to Hampden Street. They just take a right and come back into this parcel.
But I mean, in my hypothetical, there's now two big 18-wheelers ready to back into Eddie's, and I don't want to wait for more than 4 seconds because I'm a very important person. So I don't want to drive out to Hampden Street. I'd rather just cross right over that median because I can, because I'm in a Ford F-150.
Okay. I don't think that would really happen, because if they come up to the ATM and they can't use it, they're already about 10 feet from Hampden Street. They would
Right.
have to back up out of there and then go over the berm And then they'd be facing the wrong way to come into the ITM also. I just
they
don't
wouldn't.
think they would do that.
No, they wouldn't. The berm, the way it's designed right now, they could drive right over it, because it's gonna be a slopey little berm. I could drive a sedan right over it, as it is right now, right over an asphalt berm. That's easy. Why would I go out to Hampden Street when I gotta wait, when there's so much traffic right there, because it's all backed up and people trying to back into Eddie's? So I'd rather just drive right over the median strip and drive right to ITM. And by the way, I am going the right way.
Yeah. But I don't think they would be, because they'd be driving into other cars that are going through that lot.
No, they're not. They just take the right, drive over the berm and take the right, and then go around the back of the building on the north side. That's the way the traffic. I think I'm reading it right.
That's not the way I'm not looking at it that way, Dave. I just don't see that. But but there is going to be a berm
The
there.
flow's going counterclockwise, the way it's on this map.
Correct.
So you go to the berm, take a right, and go around the. So that's the. Well, whatever. I mean, listen. I'm just one person here, so but I don't want to belabor it, but more than I already have. So.
Or do we? I just wanted to make sure you understood that there is access,
All right.
egress and ingress from both Pleasant Street and from Hampden Street. So there wouldn't really, at least from the ITM lot, there'd be no reason to go back onto the people's lot. And anybody that came in, I suppose, if someone, got mixed up on that lot, but I would think that I would drive out in Hampden and drive in before I would drive over a curb, but.
Because you're a normal person, Jay, and you don't drive a Ford F-150, as far as I can tell. Well, I realize you're off the mic at that part, so that's a wise, that's a professional move right there. Okay, so that being, so Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, just one more, and I'm glad you brought that up, Attorney Driscoll. So in other words, the ATM as of now will still be used at People's until you get the official permit to use this one. So it'll be one day you open this one, that one's closed, so there won't be confusion. But will they take that out too, once it stops? Just remove it, so there won't be nobody thinking even going in there. Removed.
So the answer is a machine will be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and before we get to the public here, I did want to point out that we do have a letter. Did you get your letter from the city engineer?
Oh, from the city engineer, yes.
You got a letter from city engineer, okay. Wow. Take 3. Dated November 6th. That's the letter you have? Well, okay, so it looks like the city engineer is okay with everything. All right, so then the planning board. Planning board, right, asked for driveway with joint use. Okay, adequate. No, we're not worried about sign circulation. Okay. Pedestrian buffer and setbacks. Okay, so we talked about the screening. Menu boards, traffic impact study, minimal impacts. A lighting photometric plan was included. Sound levels. Oh, we asked about sound levels. We asked about lighting. Yeah, I didn't have to. Hours. Can we assume it's 24/7? It's coming to the mic. Yeah, we got to do it that way. That's more involved than I thought. Just name and address.
Kevin Moran, 1441 Main Street, Springfield. The ITM function, the function where you can talk to somebody at the call center at People's Bank and you can have a visual with them would operate during normal banking hours, which would be 8 to 7 Monday through Friday, and 8 to 2, I believe, on Saturday. It would operate other hours as a normal ITM, or ATM, I'm sorry.
So that's the proposal, right? Otherwise, 24 hours, right? Okay. And Kevin, who do you work for?
Colebrook Realty Services.
Oh, great, thank you, good to meet you. Okay, so, and we just approved an ATM with those similar hours at Westfield Bank. Okay, at St. James, Northampton Street.
Northampton, yeah.
All right, let's see what else if I'm missing something else, probably am.
Make another quick question.
Council Tomlin.
Yeah, I'm seeing the 2 lanes here. Is it going to be one ITM or 2?
One ITM.
Just one, but so another lane, the other lane is just to go around
Your
in case-
relief bypass lane.
Bypass, okay.
The way I'm reading this is, it looks like the only outstanding question in the planning board letter was the hours of operation, but, you know, I guess we have to decide that, but I think the hours as proposed by Mr. Moran is probably reasonable. All right. Council Murphy, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. A couple of things. I'm still trying to figure out the logistics from Pleasant Street and Hampden Street with the existing facility, and then when that goes, how that works. But the other thing is, and I know because I used to go to the South Street branch, and there were a lot of elderly there that had concern about going to the Yankee Peddler site. And I've heard the same thing about the Hampden Street site, that there's a lot of elderly that, you know, we're having, in many cases, we're not drivers. So I noticed there's no pedestrian access at the site, and this will be the only banking opportunity at that site once this is completed, if I'm correct. Yes? So, I mean, is there a way of providing some kind of safe access for someone who wants to walk up there and do their banking? It's out, I'm assuming it's an outdoor, all outdoor, correct? So, I mean, that would be a concern, because I know there were elderly people that were trying to see, you know, where are they going to do their banking and what can make more convenience. And, you know, if in fact they were walking to the former bank on Hampden Street and would like to be able to use an ATM or an ITM, you know, and if the F-150s are coming down, we got issues, obviously, but you know, I would have concern about their safety, and I don't know if you're thinking nobody would do that, but I mean, I've seen people walking to South Street, I've seen people walking to the bank on Hampden Street. I don't know if they would go to that ATM, ITM, but you know, again, I would have some concern if someone's standing there and someone else is driving, and there's no way of them knowing, and I don't know what can be done to make it happen. Maybe a sidewalk that, and when someone drives up, it extends out to them, so that there could be a place for someone to be a pedestrian and do it, and then someone else to drive through and have it come out to their car. I don't know, but that is a concern I would have, because I do think you're going to find, or from what I've heard, some elderly are concerned about being able to continue to do some banking there, and I'm assuming that's why you're putting the ATM, ITM there, because you know you've got a market there. And I do, you know, I'm still trying to picture this, and this is the exit onto, the entrance and the exit on Hampden Street is about how far from the traffic light? 100 feet? And obviously, when they're coming out, they can only go right, so. And once the other property is sold, there's no guarantee that they could come in on Pleasant Street, is there? Or is that a guarantee?
Well, and you could make that part of the permit. There's going to be easements reserved on any deed of that property to allow that ingress and egress.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Terry.
When designing the site, we designed it so it could be fully functional and access from Hampden Street only. And if there's additional entrance from Pleasant Street, I think that can also be accommodated.
Okay, well, we are a public hearing, so if any members of the public want to address us, yes, come up to the microphone, give name, address, just address the chair only, and go from there.
Great, thank you. Steve Huntley, 300 High Street, Holyoke, Executive Director, Valley Opportunity Council. So Peoples has always been a terrific neighbor. We own the property, I don't know what direction did you say, west maybe? Further down Hampden, we own the property that butts Pearl Street. So we'd met on site, we had some feedback, and then we really sat down and looked through it today, and we just have a few other items to mention, and especially after hearing the presentation. The one thing that is a little bit of a concern is the fence. Stockade fences aren't often durable. At least there's a cheap line that you can buy at certain, big box stores that's not a durable fence. And we were wondering if we could ask People's Bank to put in a more durable, maybe even a vinyl fence. And this stems from the fact we looked online, we haven't seen anything like this, right? Their only ATMs that they have are on non-People's Bank owned property, as best I can tell. There's one at Manny's Pizza. I don't believe the bank owns the Manny's Pizza complex. And there's another one out in Granby that I don't believe they own, where the Dunkin' Donuts is, et cetera, et cetera. So we're a little bit in uncharted territory, frankly. And that's where our concern comes in. And I will say we're a People's Bank customer, happy People's Bank customer. They financed this building for us. We have bank money in their accounts. I mean,
What do you mean it's not durable? Is it going to blow over?
We're afraid that in a year or two it starts to deteriorate, holes poke through, the boards crack where the nailing's done, and if there was a vinyl. So well, maybe not today, but 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whenever it was they moved, there were eyes on it every day, and it was maintained impeccably. Without the eyes on it every day, meaning, branch manager coming in, tellers, et cetera. Hey, this is broken, that's broken. We just want something that's a little more sturdy, because the eyes may not be on it Monday through Friday, whatever their hours are.
We could say that the fence, shall be adequately maintained and per city
Sure.
ordinances. I mean, I think that's kind of standard. I mean, you can't have a dilapidated fence that's falling apart. Plus, people generally, I think.
100%.
Yeah, I think they'd be
100%.
driving around there looking at it, and they'd want to have an eye appeal on that. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. Could I show you a picture of how it looks now? Because it was presented, it was chain link, and it's not. Could I?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, come on in. Okay.
That's our building. Sorry, I'm supposed to talk not on mic, but that's our building in the background. So it shows there's a nice hedge. It's really
Okay, so they're taking out a nice hedge, and they're putting in a stockade fence that you don't think is going to be nice as a nice hedge. Is that your point?
Exactly.
All right, he disagreed with that. Okay. Well, hedges aren't very durable, are they? I could cut right through there just as easily as there's a chain link fence that separates
Behind it.
behind it.
Yeah.
There's a chain link behind it with a curving it's
Well, what if they left the hedge and put it in a stockade fence behind it? What if they did that?
we don't have space to do that.
Why don't they have space to do that? On this side, they wouldn't have space? It's their property. How do you figure that? Well, it's their property. Well, you think the road goes too close to it? Okay. All right. Okay, were there any other points, Steve, that you wanted to raise, or is that the primary one?
That's the primary one. You know, then the fence, they talk about using existing posts. The posts are kind of broken and in rough shape, so they'd need to replace them just so that's specified as it goes out to bid. But that's kind of common stuff. And I would love there, in hearing the Attorney Driscoll speak, I would love for a condition to be the easement to access it from Pleasant Street as they consider separating from the corner building, just so there's two ways to get in and get out of there.
Makes sense.
So yeah, there's the fence, and that really is because I believe, it's my understanding that they have to come right up to the boundary in order to meet all the setbacks and all the other requirements. So we would love a little bit of buffer. The planting looks like that's up against the stockade fence looks like it's in about a foot of property, which means they're not going to survive, which is fine going into it. It's just, you know, we just wanted to kind of get a sense of other options that we could do that would be more permanent and a lot more sturdy than a stockade fence with plantings that have, you know, 18 inches to grow with a curb on one side and snow piling up and salt and et cetera, et cetera. That's all.
Has your operation proposed any kind of buffering on your property?
We don't have space for it. We have, I think, 8 feet between our building and our boundary. So we don't have space to include a further buffering on our side.
Could you? Oh, all right.
Otherwise, we would actually we could think about that, because the way the new plan goes, I don't want to pull this out of the wall and wreck it, but our building ends there, that ends there. We could maybe think about stepping something over there a little further down.
Right. And then just your point about, so you want us to somehow condition this permit to make sure there's an access and egress on Pleasant Street?
That would be ideal, just because it's so much easier to get in and out of Pleasant Street than it is this Hampden Street location. It's very congested. You guys have alluded to it. You live it. The Dunkin' Donuts backs up in many directions, which just means there's a lot of traffic coming through.
I'll have to hear from Attorney Driscoll on that point. So I got to get further clarification. But okay, anything else, Steve?
If they have the turning radius and the setbacks are the issue, and if there's any ability for them to ask for waivers for those to increase the setback, we'd be very much in favor of any sort of waiver if that's a path that is possible. I don't know if it's a feasible path, or if, you know, oftentimes turning radiuses are controlled by the fire department and their, you know, equipment that they may or may not have to access. So I understand that there may be no changing it at all, but just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe the engineer or Attorney Driscoll want to, well, let's just do it one point at a time. So the fence, so you heard what I just want to get your rebuttal on the fence.
The bank will be fine with doing a vinyl commercial grade stockade type fence. That's no problem. It will be a quality grade vinyl fence of a stockade kind of. Can't see through.
Blend in with the neighborhood and enhance the abutter's property.
Yeah, it's going to be a white.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's going to look
White.
right. Yeah.
Pretty
And
bad.
remember, the first sections from Hampden Street back, we are going to leave the current arborvitae standing, so you'll see the green there. It's only once you get closer to the bypass lane is really the problem that will go away with those the current plantings.
It looks like there's plantings in that little middle area out there too, where it's going.
Yep.
What do you call that, Mr. Carney? The bioretention area. Yeah, it looks like there's plantings in the bioretention area. So that's going to, you know, green up that corner as well. So that'll be nice. And then Mr. Moran or anybody, the second point was relative to the access from Pleasant Street. Is that something that we're considering going for, to have a permanent easement? What's our?
Yeah, the bank's intention is when they sell that property to reserve easements in order to be able to provide for that.
Yeah, see, I'm not really sure if we can condition a permit with an easement. I don't think we have the legal. We have pretty broad authority, but No, I'm not exactly sure if we could condition a permit with
I
easement.
like that idea.
But it's certainly to the bank's advantage to make sure that they have easy access to this site, and they intend to preserve that by means of an easement when they sell that property.
So that being said, when I'm coming off of Pleasant Street, I'm driving into the old lot. How do I get from Pleasant Street to the ITM? How do I do that?
You take a right off of Pleasant Street, right where you take a right into the bank parking lot now.
Yeah.
And you drive along the back, and you'll hook up along the back.
Hook up along the back.
I think it's along the back, isn't
The
it?
back side, the north side,
Yeah, go ahead.
I see the north side, yeah, maybe it's
straight in, right, the back.
there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's, all right, so that would make sense, because I only see that median going up so far, but how far is that space between the end of the median? 22 feet, exactly 22. Okay, all right, so, well, why do you want two-way access? Okay, so it's access and egress, okay, so ingress, okay, so you're gonna go, okay, so I'm gonna do my ITM, I'm gonna come off of Pleasant Street after visiting my campaign chairman down at Oxford Street, then I'm gonna go around, that, go to the ITM, I'm gonna talk to somebody at the ITM during normal business hours, then when I wanna go back to Oxford Street, I can go out that way and go to Pleasant Street, is that true? Out the back, yeah, okay. Okay, wow, it's exciting times in the Highlands.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay, Council Tomlin.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and I like the idea of, I mean, that's, the vinyl fence, I think would be great in that area, and I like the idea of the bank saying that we could use that, that Pleasant Street, in the future, because a lot of people are used to that anyways right now, and I'm just concerned about coming in and out of Hampden Street at that entrance, even though that's the way it's looked at. But also some kind of signage too, if you're going in and around, and now he wants to go back out Pleasant Street, you sort of like to have to go, out, take a left when you're leaving that ITM, and then take another right, and then take a left. So just so there's some kind of, because if I'm coming out and going out that way, there's other cars that are coming in that way too. So there's some kind of, I don't know if it's signage or whatever, that people are coming in off of Hampden Street, and I'm leaving my ITM business and going in that same lane, coming out to go out to Pleasant. If something can be done there to make it
I
safer.
think a combination of, combination of signage and proper striping, normal
Striping, right.
stripes and arrows showing how to go would accomplish that.
Okay.
Okay, well, now it's clear to me, because I wasn't sure what that 22-foot space was at that, so now it's clear to me, it's, it's purpose, all right, so that's some, Steve, I forgot, what was the third one? The fence, the access and egress, what was the?
Setback.
Well, they're a little tight there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know, I think that's a non-starter, all right.
Absolutely.
Say that again?
A bypass, yeah.
We are showing a bypass lane outside of the ITM.
You are.
I believe that is a condition that could be waived. And I think that it would be under your discretion whether you feel a bypass lane is required based on the amount of stacking required. I don't think they're going to have a long line, and the purpose of a bypass lane is generally if people are waiting in line for a long time and they get fed up for waiting, they would use the bypass lane. I think based on the amount of clients are expecting per hour, they would not expect a long line and the need of a bypass lane that would allow us to further plant that vegetated area between the abutter and the site. It's something that
Yeah,
could
what's
be
the
considered.
planning board say about the bypass lane, if anything? Just says a separate drive-through lane is proposed.
Mr. Chairman, though, if
Yep.
I might, but the bypass lane was shown on the documents that were presented to the planning board.
Right.
So, they may not have commented on it because it was in the plan. To take it out now
Could change, yeah.
could, cause the planning board some concern.
Oh, have they closed their hearing?
No, it was just the comments that
It's
they
just
provided
comments.
to you, right?
Right. Well, I mean, they should be able to anticipate things, whether yes or no. I mean, they've been doing this a while, and as I indicated, they always want to advise us on things, so they can come and run for office and write their own ordinances. But I don't know what we're gonna say here. I mean, I have no opinion on the bypass lane. I really don't. It's Council Sullivan.
Yeah, I think we should leave the plan alone as accepted. Mr. Huntley got 2 out of 3. That's not bad.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Boy, that's a
I like
potential
that.
lyric right there, too. You should think about that. Council Sullivan.
Yeah, I agree with Council Sullivan. I think it's important that the plan keep that bypass lane in there. And plus, if there's an emergency or something, police or fire have to get around, the cars are in the lot, they could go through there, and safety-wise, I think it's important to keep that there.
Council Murphy.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the pedestrians. And I wonder, I mean, I don't know how big the ATM, ITM is, or if there's a capacity to have a drive-through side and a pedestrian side. I don't know if that is possible.
I don't believe so. The machine is set up such that it faces one direction. That would require another machine. I think it's, conceivable that somebody could walk up and use the ATM or ITM if they wanted. And I mean, then they'd be perfectly visible. And, somebody driving prudently without an F-Ford 150 would be fine.
All right, so you could walk, Councilor Murphy could walk right up to that ITM and,
Do a
know,
transaction.
because he'd want to park across the street at Dunkin' Donuts, but he doesn't want to waste gas or hurt the environment, so he'd walk across the street to the ITM, and he could walk right in front of it and stand there,
You could walk up to it.
and then he'd be accepted. Yeah.
So is it possible to put a little, I've seen people drive up to the ATM at People's Bank on South Street when there were the 2 lanes, and they're not always the most alert as to what's in front of them. So, I almost think there was a curb on one of them, if I'm not mistaken. No?
Yeah. I think
They were sitting up on a curb. Yeah.
Huh?
I'm Brian Canina. I'm the CFO for People's Bank. We're trying to cater to the drive-up traffic. We have a considerable amount of drive-through traffic at the current ATM coming up that way from South Hadley or from wherever. I do understand that there is a walking population. Unfortunately, we're not able to handle that. That we're not addressing that situation with this. We can't prevent them from walking up, just like any drive-through ATM or ITM. Anyone could walk up to the machine. But I don't think that we would be putting in a second machine or trying to create a walk-up. We don't necessarily see that there would be enough traffic to justify all the infrastructure for that type of a transaction. Depending on what we do with the building, maybe if you're going to have a walk-up, it's typically in a walking area and it's an indoor walk-up. Based on your comments here, if at some point we decide to sell, we could identify with the seller and maybe have a walk-up inside a vestibule at the existing building. That might be something that we look at, depending on feedback that we have from the community and the people that were transacting business in there. But for this purpose, it's solely geared towards the drive-up traffic that we found to be have a significant amount of volume.
Okay, I would appreciate it if you would, as you go into your marketing analysis, and if whatever's going on with the building after, if you do look at that, because I've heard that from quite a few people. So, and like you said, you do have quite a few people that did walk to the bank, and I know there were concerns about going to the Yankee Peddler location, so.
Yeah, so in the data that we have for transactions, it's very difficult to see what's walk-in traffic and who parked and came into the branch. So, hearing this from you, I'll take that information back and have some, discussions back with, we get that sort of information anecdotally through customer communication at our existing branch and things that we're hearing within the community. So when we do hear those things, we do take them to heart, and we'll try to see what we can do to address them. So that is one way that we might be able to address it, and we'll keep that an open mind to that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wants to speak for or against this proposal? Are there any other counselors that want to, we're joined by Councilor Leahy. Welcome, Councilor. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I just want to state, and very familiar with the area and that bank. I've been going banking there since I was, 10 years old up in that area. And they do use that ATM. People did use that ATM in the bank. The one with the vestibule, we get in there just like, I've even used the one down by the Seatown, the old Pat supermarket, which is very, active and busy. So that's, if you could bring that up, I know it's a marketing thing and it's a cost factor, but I think it's important to either just to look at that for the neighborhood, because it is an area with a lot of people. There's a lot of walking around, and I think to have a safe area where people can actually go in and do their banking, I think would be something that would be beneficial for the neighborhood.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't hear anybody else, see anybody else with their hands up from the public, so I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion to close the public hearing or discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so for this, I think I heard some conditions. Well, first, the hours. The hours, it sounds like they're gonna be, the ITM's gonna be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturdays. Otherwise, the ATM will be the rest of the balance of the hours. Okay, so that's one. Then there's the issue of the fence, and the fence shall be vinyl,
White vinyl.
a vinyl.
Yeah.
Does it have to? Is it
Commercial grade vinyl.
commercial grade vinyl fence? Does it have to be white? Is that?
I think white is the normal, color, but whatever, yeah.
Well,
That seems like
well,
that was brought up from them, and I think would be attractive for that area, yeah.
well, let's just say commercial grade vinyl. They leave the color choice to the professionals. Let's see here. So hours, the fence type. Now on the
Easement?
on the bypass lane, the easement. Well, the easement. Well.
We can't, suggest that
Well, I'm not going to give a legal opinion
No,
on this,
but
but
they
I'm
stated
going
that.
to suggest to you that I think our jurisdiction's kind of narrowed there. But we could say we would encourage.
Encourage, right.
We would encourage access and egress off of Pleasant Street.
It'll be beneficial, they stated, to the bank too, yeah, so.
Furthermore, you can encourage. Let me just write that in there. You can encourage their consideration of a pedestrian-friendly future use. Well, that's pretty vague, right? Is there something else you want me to say?
I think I'm gonna just go, I think they're gonna try to,
Or leave that blank?
I'm gonna leave that blank
Leave that
with
blank,
the
okay.
idea that they have
All right.
pretty much made a commitment that they're gonna try to find out how they can provide service to those pedestrians.
Yeah.
Then as regarding the second lane, I think we're just gonna leave that as it is. I don't really.
Sounds good, yeah.
I don't really see this.
Yeah.
But I do love tweaking the planning board, so I would love it, but that's all right. They got a lot of ideas for us, so we give them some ideas. Okay, so those would be, so the motion's going to be the aforesaid hours, the aforesaid fence, and the aforesaid encouragement of the easement. Those are the conditions. That's the motion for conditions of special permit.
Make a motion to,
I gotta get a second on that. That's my motion.
a second.
All right, under the motion has been seconded to add the aforesaid conditions to the special permit under discussion. Hearing none. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those are conditions to it. Now, to approve the, I'll take a motion to approve recommend for approval of special permit as conditioned.
Recommend approve the special permit for People's Bank with the, as conditioned.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve special permit as conditioned. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's recommended for approval to the full city council, which meets tomorrow at 7 PM. You're more than welcome to attend as it is a public meeting. Thank you. Please? We do
you
take
do?
comments from the public, yes, yes,
Yes.
right, I wasn't here for that vote, but, so we get comments from the public, yes, they're enlightening as always, I can assure you.
A couple minutes before the meeting, right?
I wish they were limited to a couple minutes, but we don't have that kind of chairman. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of
Always
the
a
board.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for coming down. Okay, so moving on.
To make a motion to take item number 4 off the table for discussion?
Second.
Motion made in second, take item number 4 off the table. On discussion, hearing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. 4, Mike Sullivan. That the water commissioners and manager appear before the city council to consider contracting with an independent consulting firm to prepare a feasibility best use study on the future of the Whiting Street Res as both an active water source and as emergency backup source. We did get a communication from Mr. Conti that he and the water commissioners would be available for a future meeting if necessary, but tonight they're not available. So I did confer with Councilor Sullivan about that, and I asked Councilor Sullivan for his pleasure for this. As you know, we have a very beginning study group.
Right.
Councilor Sullivan, what's your take?
Yeah, we do have a committee in place now. They should be having their first meeting shortly. At the time I filed this was separate from having that committee in place. They may need some resources in the future, but for right now, I'd be willing to give it leave to withdraw and wait till we hear back from the committee what their needs will be.
Well, I'd like to make that a lot softer because there's a lot of sensitive people around here. I know, Mike, you're one of them, so
Yeah.
we can certainly say complied
Complied
with, if you like, Mike. So, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
We just want to soften that for
Soften it up a
people.
little bit, and Mike knows how to soften things
I
up.
don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so
No,
we're all
no.
very, very sensitive here. So
I'll make a motion that we say this item's been complied with.
I'm going to second that motion. Under discussion on the motion. Hearing none. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's see. Item 5, I can just get a motion to take that off the table, please?
Motion to take up number 5?
Second.
On the motion to take under item 5 the table, all in favor? Aye. Yeah, this is something that I put in place, because I'm just really excited about, Pete was here, Linda, of course, was here, when we started up that receivership program. It's just been bits and pieces, just taking it from the edges and just trying to work our way into the heart of the problem. It's been a wonderful program. But, we sit here and we never hear about it. So we put in place to get regular updates. The acting solicitor advised that she has some great updates for us, and she generally puts together a really nice report. But due to her schedule, she wasn't available. She was given notice of this. Ryan did notice her. It wasn't like a last-second thing. But it was hit or miss for her, and she just said she wasn't available. So I just want to update the committee that this is coming. It's going to be a really good update for us as counselors and for the public in general as to the receivership. In fact, you had a receiver here earlier, Mr. Whitman's been doing a lot of that around the city. So I just think it's a win, and it's good to hear good news. But for right now, we don't have a report, so motion to table be in order.
Second. Motion to table?
Motion made and seconded to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. If I could get a motion to suspend rules, take 6, 7, and 8 as a package.
Motion to suspend the rules to take 6, 7, 8 as a package.
Second?
Second.
On the motion to suspend the rules to package items 6, 7, and 8, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I really appreciate that. The intent of this is to, and I'll briefly read these into the record, but let me just do it right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do a condensed reading. I heard that motion, I heard that seconded. The law department, with any knowledge of two Casey contracts, advised the city council as to who drafted them, that the city council received a communication regarding the Casey contracts, and their status, and that the, and number 8 is just the Casey contracts themselves. So what we do have, I received a communication, I'll tell you the exact time, a couple of communications. One was from, or both from Marcos Marrero, relative to this. One came in a timely fashion last week. I did send a reply to that because I felt the answer was a little thin, and he responded to me at 5:42 p.m. today. So it's 18. Oh, Mr. Marrero, right
He
now.
is right there.
But he's here right now. Marcos, we're just taking this up right now. We're gonna have a very abridged discussion. So, no, you come. You're welcome here. You're always welcome.
Always.
We enjoy having you here. We're joined by the OPED director, Marcos Marrero. So Marcos, what I did was, I saw your email, but at 5:42. But I haven't. That's okay. That's okay. I haven't had a chance to even read it. I haven't even read the email, and I saw a few attachments. So my intention on this, as I said many times, we're not the U.S. Senate, so we're just not gonna have, we're just not gonna do that. But fact is, I filed the orders. I kind of want to know what's going on. I did receive invoices, and I did receive payment vouchers, but I wanted to drill down a little bit. I want to make sure that the committee has a chance to, and I compared the invoices to the payment vouchers, and at least they match up. I did see a whole lot of hours, 197 hours to be exact, of billable time. I didn't have a whole lot produced behind it, so when somebody bills out 197 hours of work, I got to make the assumption that there's, I mean, yes, I know there are meetings, and I know there's that, but I've got to assume that there's some other product besides attending meetings and quote-unquote preparing for meetings that are behind that. So I didn't see that, and that's why I reached out to you, and I believe you provided some backup. And I'll let you, since you're here, I'll let you address it just in a bridge version. But I don't have any evidence that, and I do have a couple of questions for the procurement director and for the vendor himself, and I don't really have any evidence that either were invited, and I don't really want to have a big, long meeting without them, at least with evidence in front of me that they were invited, because I think that's just unfair. So, I mean, if you want to give us a real nutshell summary of what you presented. My intent right now is just to table this, and we'll take it up again when we next meet. Bob?
Sure. So I saw via the city auditor that there was an order that was going to be discussed, and there was a search for documents. Apparently there was some confusion as to where this originated, what was the purpose of the contract. So I responded to a thread and I said, here's the contract, it's our contract.
So two contracts. One is for the Section 19 and a few other things. That was for the $99.99. Then there's a second contract for $2,000, and I think, is that the one you're addressing, or are you addressing both?
That's the one I'm addressing.
Yeah.
That's the one I.
So there's two contracts for the former chief of staff of the city of Holyoke. One is for $9,999, and that contract said you can bill up to 200 hours at $50 an hour to provide XYZ services, and we'll get into that more. Mm-hmm. Then there's a second contract for other services relative to what looked like an NEA grant possibly, yes. and for El Corazon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Councilor Sullivan's spoken about that before, but that contract said essentially to fundraise and do some other things, fundraise about $20,000. And I think one of your first emails said to me, looks like we raised about $44,500.
Yeah, so,
So I'm just summarizing, so hold on, I'll give you, so those are the two contracts that pay. So Mr. Marrero was kind enough to respond to both my emails. The second one, I just got a touch too late, but we're all busy, so no knock, okay, there's no knock on that. But I got that kind of later in the day today, so I didn't have a chance to drill down into it, but I will. But that second contract is specifically the one that Marcos is here to, possibly give us a little, just a ever so brief overview.
sure. So I'll try to be brief, and if I'm not being brief, just give me the ear signal or something.
Yeah, I'll just say it to the microphone. I'll just say it.
Just very high level, as you said, El Corazon, the heart of Holyoke, is a project that started a couple years ago. We applied for a National Endowment of the Arts grant, NEA. The city was awarded $50,000 for that. The scope was changed around 2016 to sort of reflect what we were hearing from the community, and particularly from the ward councilor at the time, Nelson Roman, to have a wider impact than what that we were originally conceiving. It does have a match requirement, and the majority of that match ended up being this Commonwealth Places program, which is a crowdfunding campaign where you set a goal on how much you think you'll be able to crowdfund, and if you hit that goal, the state, through mass development, just matches that. So our goal, as you stated, was $20,000, which we were kind of nervous about at first, but we had reason to believe that we could hit it, and then the state would match with $20,000. At the beginning of the year, we lost a very important partner in the team, in former councilor Nelson Roman, who was also the executive director of Nueva Esperanza. And so we were faced with having a team that didn't know how to really do widespread fundraising. And at the time, the executive director of Nueva Esperanza had already done a lot of the legwork on, at least that's what he had told us, on talking to businesses. But there was no record of that, right? So we were left with a campaign that was about to start, and we just need to tap into some expertise. I was marginally aware that Rory Casey was providing services to the city. That's the only reason why I really know about the other contract. And he was someone who was very, very prepared to do something like this. His other job is as development director for an organization in Holyoke. He knew a lot of the players on the ground, so immediately he would have been a trustworthy person to add to the team. And so, frankly, we had it in our budget to do something like this. By happenstance, we didn't have to spend what we thought we were going to have to spend on a video as part of the campaign, and so we had some additional funds that we put towards the capacity towards the campaign. So that's where those funds came from. That was one of your questions. Comes from the NEA grant, and his role was coaching us through the meetings on, okay, how do we actually do this? How do we do a campaign? How do we reach for some anchor donors, which is common in some of these in some of these campaigns? You're getting the word out, and people are volunteering their money, but you have to have some anchor donors that will provide a little bit more, particularly at the beginning, so that it looks like you have some funds and that you have some momentum. And then closer to the end to a campaign, so that you look like you're closing strong and people will see the urgency and start donating. We needed someone who could talk to us about messaging to convey that urgency, the importance of the campaign, to inform the additional videos that we commissioned. Just kind of like short ones, not like super overproduced. Just kind of capturing interviews and people's opinions. And then setting up events. That was an important part too. You can't just do it digitally. We want to have a kickoff event that really energized the community. We want to have a couple of events during the campaign that would remind people, hey, this is something that's going on. Oh, you haven't heard about it, how you can get involved even if it's not donating. And then a closeout campaign. A closeout event. So there are four events. So I list them there in the email. The opening and the closing coincided with the 90-day window that the Commonwealth Places program that, that the program gives you to raise the funds. And then the other two were based on, well, one that community member that was interested in kind of hosting it at Holyoke Craft Brewery, and the other one was a chamber after hours event that we were piggybacking with them to get the word out. And so that was kind of a broad description of the tasks at hand. When you said 197 hours, I assume you're referencing the other contract. Yeah, I mean, I was. We didn't do it on an hourly basis. I was more comfortable as a manager to do a lump sum, but we estimated 40 hours for that. I'm guessing you probably put in a little bit more than that, but I was more comfortable with, like, there's no way of me knowing precisely how many hours if you're, sending emails or making calls to donors, or, setting up and taking down is a little bit easier to track.
So what I saw were two invoices, both worth $1,000.
Yeah, so I think what was in the terms of the scope was some first payment, some invoice on some, I don't remember the details, I can read through it, but sometimes in the contracts, just generally, not just this one, sometimes contractors will want either a down payment as a retainer, or once you hit some milestone, you have one first invoice, and then you have invoices on other milestones or upon completion. And so probably what that reflects is that the contract had some first milestone for an invoice, and that I would have signed it to get paid, and then upon completion of the campaign, the second one.
Go ahead, I didn't mean to.
I'm not sure what else I'm missing.
Oh, no, I don't want to cut you off.
The sources of the funds. There's the still public patronicity campaign page. It has a couple of tabs there. It has the information on the campaign. It has the updates that we've sent to everyone who registered for it. And then there's a tab that says donors. So you can see that. I mean, anyone can see that. I also included it as an Excel file in case it's more useful. There are a couple of them that just listed themselves anonymously. I mean, I assume if you want to know who the anonymous people were, I can provide it to you, and I would hope that we can keep their anonymity public. Some people don't like their name out there.
I would certainly respect that. Yeah. So I would say. So I was looking at the two vendor invoices on here. One's May 1st and the other one's May 24th. It just says first half development contract. It says make all checks payable to company name, and it says okay to pay. It looks like your signature. Then it's stamped. There's a signature stamp by Lori Belanger, and then the same thing says for $1,000. Says okay to pay. It looks like your signature, Marcos. Then I don't see this one stamped, but it says make all checks payable to company name. So it looks like.
Yeah, the process usually,
is.
I get an invoice, and if it's okay to pay, I'll literally write okay to pay, my signature.
Says okay to pay,
Usually I'll put a date under that, or
Yeah,
just over that. Okay.
They're both dated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I see them on here. So they are what they are. So okay. So I mean that's at least I have some knowledge that we at least follow some basic procurement guidelines and did that, which I was pretty confident we did. I think there's a larger point that may or may not be clear, but that's okay. We'll pick that up next time. Okay, well, I have all this, Marco, so I don't think that when we take this up again, which, I don't know if we'll, I don't really see us meeting in, well, we'll talk about it in a minute, but when this committee reconvenes, we'll, depending, because I think, how the orders you gave me last night to file, that's going to be quite a mouthful for this committee for next time. So I don't, I could see us taking this up in maybe February. I mean, it's really not a burning issue. So I think the ones you sent us for tomorrow night's meeting, probably we'll take those up. Because there's a whole series, maybe not a baker's dozen, but probably 8 or 9 of them, right?
Oh, and if anyone has questions in the meantime, I mean,
Anyone
can contact me at any time. Right?
I'll recognize Councilor Tallman first.
Yeah, I think we got that from I think we got the contracts too from the law department originally, the solicitor's office, right? This was a couple months ago.
No. I made a Freedom of Information
Right,
request.
right. And I think they sent.
That's how we get. And then I had Right, so we asked the mayor's office repeatedly.
Right.
And well, no, actually promised twice in finance, never got them though. Then the mayor said that they were given to administrative assistant, which was not true. They were never given to administrative assistant. Then I made a FOIA request to the acting city solicitor, and then she sent them, but, they weren't before us, so I had her send them to the clerk, and we put them on an agenda. So they are before us.
Okay. And, well, the question I had with Marcos, so there was 2 invoices, they're paid $1,000 each, different times. Now, what is that money? Is that from the money that was raised, or where's that money actually coming from?
No, the money comes from the NEA grant.
It comes from the grant?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if it was city money or was it grant money or...
Because when we raise the money, right, it's, the city, as far as I know, the city has never done this, right? So I treated it as a grant. It's just a grant that's coming from a lot of sources. So I can't spend that until it comes before council for it to be approved. So I can't make an expenditure off of that. I need to have a different account to make the expenditure. So I spend the NEA money to make sure we hit our targets. Once all the money comes in from the crowdfunding campaign, then it was packaged and brought before the city council. And then I think it was in August that finance took it up, and then at the next council meeting it was approved. So now I'm able to make expenditures out of that account, but I wouldn't have been able to in May.
Okay. So that money wasn't city money then, it was a grant money?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's an account in the city.
It's a city, but it's
yes,
through a
It's
grant.
not general fund money, yes.
Okay, I just want to know that.
But,
Okay.
but when did the city council approve those?
That was back in the finance committee. I think you
It
came
was
in
at some point in August
August of
this year.
this year.
this year?
The crowdfunding campaign money.
The crowdfunding.
The NEA money
NEA,
was-
we have for a while.
Oh,
We have a
my
while
God.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been far too long.
For hard to run. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but that money was,
Interrupt you.
that came in then, and so that payment, that wasn't through us then, and we didn't have to approve that. That was 2 invoices. We approved the grant, but we didn't approve the 2 invoices out of the
The city
grant.
council approves grants when they're
Right.
received. So the NEA grant was approved
That was approved, but not the money that was sent to the
whenever
company.
it was received, 2015, 2016, something like that. So the NEA grant comes before council, council approves it. That creates the fund where the grant monies can be expended from. So in the spring of this year, I make expenditures for this contract based off
Okay.
of that fund, where we're crowdfunding to try to get basically more
Base
money,
more money.
leveraging it for more money.
Okay.
Once the campaign closes after 90 days, so that would have been May something, at the end of May.
Yeah.
And we hit our target, so Mass Development provides their $20,000. Patronicity, the platform, will send us the money. It's all on hold until the city council then approves it. So the order is filed to accept what is net $44,118.90. That goes to Finance Committee in August. Finance approves it.
I remember that coming in August.
Right,
for
you're
the-
on finance,
right,
right.
yeah, because I'm on the finance, okay. So that's just giving me a better understanding of the whole thing. I'm just thinking, so we accept the grant, we accept the money, but we didn't approve the money you paid out of it, the $2,000, $1,000 each.
Well, I mean, the city
By
council
sending the
doesn't
grant,
approve
we did.
invoices.
Right. Okay, I'm just trying to get a better understanding of this, so, okay.
Good. Council Sullivan?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So, Marcos, all right, so we ran this crowdfunding to leverage other monies. What other monies did we get as a result of this crowdfunding campaign?
So the crowdfunding campaign collected $25,020, and there's $901.10, something like that went to fees. So because we hit our mark, our goal, which was $20,000, Mass Development provided an additional $20,000. That's where we get the $44,000.
All right, so Mass Development. Yep. So we've got $20,000 from Mass Development as a result of running the crowdfunding campain.
Yes,
And that's the only other funds that were leveraged that we got as a result of this.
As of this point, we're going for several others. The biggest value of the Heart of Holyoke project has been the platform to be able to deploy art in a community. Art can be very controversial. And it evokes emotions, and so sometimes it's rejection of the pieces. And so that's presented a lot of value to us. We garnered one of 14 places in the Bloomberg Public Art Competition, which was for $1 million. Now, we weren't successful in that, but we'll be going for another Bloomberg Foundation grant that's slightly smaller. It's in the $25,000 range. And there's another one also with mass development for up to $40,000. So the work that we've done in the crowdfunding has really made a profile where we can continue plugging in philanthropic dollars into the project.
So we also use CDBG money.
That's correct.
How much?
There's been $80,000 assigned.
All right, so right now we've got 80,000 in CDBG, 50,000 in an NEA grant. It's 130, 25 that we've raised ourselves is 155 mass development. We're up to $175,000. Right?
I can't do the math in my head.
I don't think it's that much,
I trust
Well,
whatever
80
number
and 50 is 130. 25 in fundraising makes it 155. Another 20 from mass development makes it 175. So I think my math, I think my Holyoke Public Schools math is still pretty good.
Not bad.
Have we ever, we've got a lot of other projects around town. Have we ever used crowdfunding before to help with any other projects at all around town?
Not to my knowledge. This was the first opportunity that we had the chance to do a crowdfunding campaign because it was a state program that was designated as such. Mass Development procured a partner in patronicity. You can apply to that program as a city to be part of that. And so they set up the program, right? They set up the grant program. So if there are other opportunities for it, we've had a pretty interesting experience at this point, and I wouldn't discard it for other projects if they're a good fit. I mean, what I want to convey with this is it wasn't just like randomly we said, well, let's ask people for money, right? It's like there's a lot involved with that.
I'm not saying
And so we had a path set for us through the state through this program, and that's what we followed.
And how does is it the Center for Design Engagement?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do they play into this? Are they putting any money in?
No, they're a design partner. So the National Endowment of the Arts grant is actually not something that we can apply for ourselves. I think this is the Our Town grant. You have to apply with a design partner or an artist. So they were the ones who actually came to us and said, hey, we can do a really interesting project if you're interested in this. So they're a partner in this, and they get paid out of the NEA grant, which wouldn't be available to us otherwise.
All right, but so the Center for Design Engagement brought us this program, but they got paid monies out of the 50,000.
Correct.
All right, and has any of the artwork been installed yet?
No, we were scheduled in October to do the first installation of banners. In fact, some of your constituents may have seen them installed for a day. There were problems. Terry, you may have seen some of these. There were problems with the product, so we took them back. There were banners that were designed as part of the design process with the community. We now have the final product, and the day that we're hoping for the unveiling is December 15th. So in the coming weeks, you'll see these going up on the poles on Main Street. In the spring, you will see work on the 4 vintage electric towers that have been decommissioned by the Holyoke Gas and Electric. Last Thursday, if you were lucky enough to be traveling around Main Street, we were doing some testing on lighting concepts. So if you were at the corner of Main and Lyman, you got quite a light show.
Also, I'm sorry. Councilor Bacon?
I just had a quick question. If you know, do you know who developed the contract? And I only ask because our legal department said they didn't.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I mean, I guess it's accurate that they didn't sit down and write the contract from cover to cover. That's the standard city service contract.
Oh, so it wasn't anything,
And so,
New?
99% of this is just boilerplate. So if we, frankly, a contract under, services under $5,000 doesn't even require a contract. I'm a stickler for, just in case, let's
so
just
you
have a
just
contract.
used the
So-
template, basically?
I've had the current and prior purchasing director said, you don't need a contract for that, don't bother me. I said, well, just in case, I want to have the stuff written out. So something like this won't require it, but I asked for a standard city contract, and you just plug in the dates and the scope of work, and not a big deal. Then when questions come up, then you can see it, it's something there. So
So
it's
they
a
were-
standard contract, I plug in the numbers and let it fly. You can see in the contract, I don't know if you have seen it, but it is signed as to form by the legal department. It's signed by procurement officer, the auditor.
So maybe they just meant they didn't specifically do that particular
Right,
one.
well, yeah, if they're,
When- I
if
mean,
they're
maybe it
looking at
was-
it and they're like, well, I don't remember spending an hour on this, it's
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
didn't, they-
Right, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Right, I'm just gonna say that's not a great practice, so that's my opinion. There's no such thing as a boilerplate contract, and then Ms. Belanger's not an attorney, so she shouldn't be giving any legal advice, and if she is, you shouldn't be taking any legal advice from her on that, so that should go right from the, well, that's just what you said, so we.
Well, I didn't mean she was getting legal advice, is that
You
it's
said
a-
don't
it's a
bother with a
temp-
contract, because that's just what you said. You said, so she's giving you legal advice, but that's legal advice.
That one isn't required, yeah. And
Right,
I
that's- well,
and I
that's-
insisted that I wanted one, and I was
It's
giving.
not a matter of semantics, that's legal advice. She gave you legal advice, you relied upon it, and we got away with it. But she is unqualified to give legal advice of any kind, of any sort. And she, being an agent of the city, should know better than to do that. Any legal advice has to come from the law department. So Councilor Bacon raises a very relevant point, one that we discovered along the path to this point. But we'll drill down a little more. Yeah, so that's just my humble opinion. It sounds like that you're trying to do your best, that you want to get something in written form. But I think when you do that, you should not get the advice of the procurement director. It should be from somebody in the law department. That's where you should direct your inquiry. To the law department, not the procurement director. So that's just on contract law. Well said. Oh, Councilor Sullivan, sorry.
Yeah, and this is no reflection on you, Marcos. I just want to make one comment that, I mean, the $50,000 for the NEA grant was fine, but with what we just went through, trying to raise money and trying to do something with new schools, and just to manage to cobble together $125,000 this easily, that all of these efforts should be directed at one thing in the city right now. And I don't think that it's art projects. I think when we've got 5-year-old kids bringing packets of heroin to school, when we've got all the other issues, a divisive, explosive issue like we just had with a debt exclusion override, to have our focus on anything but this right now seems to me mind-blowing, and that's all I've got to say about it.
All right, so Marcos, thank you so much for coming here tonight and carving out some of your time for this. Did you send the email to the whole committee?
I did, I figured.
You did?
Since it was so late, I was gonna.
Oh, my gosh, look at all the crew on there. There's Peter, Terry, Josie, Todd. No, Todd's not even on the committee, but he got one. So Tanya, Alex.
I copied the folks
Michael,
who were in the
Hector.
thread
So,
when
I-
Tanya sent me the request.
I think there's a whole crew. I mean, I emailed you and you replied to all sorts of people on this. So I sent you an email, but you added on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's okay. But that's good. So at least the whole committee has it. That's my point. All right, so you have that now, and so we'll take this up again another time. So I'm just going to get a motion to table these three, if I could, please.
Motion to table items 7,
6, 7, 8.
6, 7, and 8.
Motion's made and seconded. I'm going to second that to table that. On the motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then, thank you, Marcos. So just the last one on this agenda is a next meeting date. So I'm pretty flexible as, whatever your take is, your take. If you want to meet in December, we can, I can certainly make myself available to do that. City Council is scheduled to meet December 3rd and December 17th. Ordinance is going to meet December 10th. The 24th is obviously out. So, it's really up to you, gentlemen. If you want, do you want to meet in December? If you don't, that's okay too. I mean, believe me,
If we got things that have to be, worked on, I don't mind meeting. If we got a lot of stuff that's coming in tomorrow night, right?
I think there will
It'll
be.
the agenda. There are a lot, yeah.
Okay, so if I threw out hypothetically, let me just check something here. If I throw out hypothetically, well, I happen to like Mondays, but I'm just one person. I mean, Monday or Thursday would be, they're all good for me. So you could look at the 9th is a Monday, the 12th is a Thursday, 16th is a Monday, 19th is a Thursday. I mean, so City Council's meeting the 3rd and 17th, so you might want to look at the 9th or the 12th. So that's a Monday or a Thursday.
I can do a Monday. The 9th sounds good for me. I don't know if anybody else.
I'm fine.
It's another day that ends in Y.
There you go.
All right, so the next DGR will be December 9th at 6 o'clock. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so that's set. And then just one more motion, we'll wrap it up.
Motion adjourned?
Motion made a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.